Hello friends, and welcome to Yoga with Rachel. First off, thank you so very much for being here. And secondly, welcome to day 2 of our at-home yoga journey together. Today's theme is recognize. So we are going to be going on a bit of an inward journey, and our body will be getting a nice workout in. All right, let's get started. Okay friends, so we begin today's practice standing nice and tall on our mat at the top edge of our mat. A little bit different from where we were yesterday as we were nice and low to the ground. So when you arrive here, place your feet so that way they're roughly hip distance apart, toes pointing forward. Let's rock our pelvis forward. Sometimes we hear the cue, tuck the tailbone under. Basically, we're just trying to create length in our back body. Loop our shoulders. And then tuck in the chin slightly. Let's hug our kneecaps, so lifting up the kneecaps. And maybe when we do this action, we can feel our thighs begin to turn on and engage. Palms facing forward, fingertips curling in, and feel free to close your eyes or soften your gaze here. Let's breathe on in through our nose and out through the mouth. So as we stand here in mountain pose, I invite you to recognize where most of the weight is being placed in your feet. So for me, I find that most of my weight is being placed in the tops of my feet. So I'm leaning slightly forward. So just take a moment to notice. Just simply noticing patterns or habits that may have developed in our body over time. No worries about making any adjustments right now. We're just simply exploring. All right, wonderful. Open up your eyes if they were closed. And now we're going to play around with this idea of shifting weight. So let's shift a little bit more weight forward. Our heels are still kissing the earth, but more weight is in the tops of our feet. And then over to the right. And then back and behind us to our heels. And then to the left. So we're kind of creating this circular motion. Just shifting our weight, nice and slow. Feeling what it feels like as we do this. And then once we've had a little bit of playtime, come back to center, finding stillness. And perhaps now you may notice that the feet feel like they're firmly rooting into the ground, all 4 corners. So maybe equal distribution of weight. If not, that is okay. It's part of the practice. It is part of the journey. On our next breath in, let's send our hands up and towards the sky. And then on an exhale, open twist to the right. So keeping our knees bent here. We can imagine that we're about to give someone a big hug. On our next breath in, let's send our hands up and towards the sky. Exhale, open twist to our left now. Breathe in, the hands go up. And then exhale, let's float it on down, finding our forward fold. Bend your knees, allow the hands to rest on the earth. And perhaps here in our forward fold, we take a moment to recognize areas in which we may be gripping or holding, such as in the jaw, maybe even in the neck. Just shake it loose, shake our head loose. Breathe in. And then on our next breath out, let's plant our palms and step it on back into a plank pose, stacking our wrists under the shoulders, heels really reaching towards the back edge of our mat. We're pressing out of our foundation, looking directly between our hands. So as we are here in plank, recognize the thoughts that may be coming to the surface. For me, my mind is saying, give up, drop those knees. But I'm communicating with my mind and saying, nope, I got a little bit more in me. So with that being said, we are here for 3, 2, And then on the one, send your hip points high to the sky, finding a downward facing dog. So just as we did yesterday, find ways or recognize ways in which we can find a little bit more ease in this posture. So perhaps that means walking your hands towards the long edges of your mat, bending your knees quite generously, allowing the belly to really reach towards the thighs. Perhaps if you're practicing this first thing in the morning, the backs of the legs may be feeling a little bit stiff, so we keep our heels lifted away from the earth. For me, I like to pedal out my feet. Any kind of organic movement feels nice. Wonderful, and we eventually find some stillness in our down dog. On our next breath in, let's send our right foot up and towards the sky, anchoring through the left foot. And then on our exhale, hugging the right knee in towards our heart center as we shift forward. And then step the right foot through, framing that right foot. So our back heel is lifted away from the earth. We can keep a small micro bend in our back knee as well, just for some added support. So for our front foot, we're pressing on into the full foot. You know, it is a part of our foundation. Maybe loop your shoulders here in this runner's lunge. Breathe in and out. Bring your hands to your waistline and let's begin to connect to our center as we rise on up. Beautiful. So our right knee is either slightly behind our ankle or stacked on top, your choice. Basically, we still just want to see our toes. So recognize ways in which maybe we can find a little bit more ease in this posture. So that could be walking our right foot towards the right edge of our mat to give us a little bit more space. It could be hugging the legs in towards each other, in towards the midline, finding a little bit more balance and stability here. On our next breath in, let's send our hands up and towards the sky, thumbs back, pinkies forward. Keep the breath flowing, my friends. High lunge is definitely a strength building posture. You got this. One more breath cycle. Beautiful. On the next exhale, we float our hands back down to our waistline, begin to hinge forward at our hip, and then place your hands down on the earth, and then let's step our right foot back to join the left, finding a downward facing dog. I encourage you to pedal out the feet here, encouraging the legs to relax. And then we eventually find some stillness. On our next breath in, we send our left foot up and towards the sky, anchoring through our right foot now. And then on the exhale, hugging the left knee in towards the heart center, shifting forward. And then we step our left foot through. So we're framing our left foot. So we've already been here. So now I encourage you to recognize ways in which you can already find ease in this pose, some steadiness and ease. So for me, I'm going to walk my left foot towards the left edge of my mat. I'm going to focus in more on the breath, using that as a tool to help me dig in a little bit deeper. Breathe in and out. Bring your hands to your waistline, connect to your core, and let's rise on up together. Beautiful. Front knee either behind the ankle or stacked on top, your choice. On our next breath in, we send our hands up and towards the sky, radiating energy past those fingertips, building strength and flexibility in our body. Breathe in. And then on our next exhale, we float our hands back down to our waistline. Let's begin to hinge forward at our hip, melting our upper body to or towards our thigh, planting our palms, and then stepping our left foot back to join the right. Final down dog. Pedal it out. Okay, let's begin to lower our knees down to the earth. Nice and slow. Walk your hands so that way they are underneath your shoulders, knees under the hip points. Spread through your fingers nice and wide, pressing on into the fingertips, shining your elbow creases forward, looping your shoulders, pressing into the tops of our feet, and rocking that pelvis forward slightly, trying to create a neutral spine here in tabletop position. On our next breath in, let's send our tailbone up towards the sky, arching through our back body, opening on up through our chest as we look forward. And then on the exhale, beginning at the tailbone, tucking it under, rounding through the back body, chin towards the chest, pressing out of our foundation. Breathing in to drop in that belly, open on up, finding our cow pose here. And then exhale to round through, finding cat pose. So let's do a few more rounds of cat-cow, following our own breath and at our own pace. So you take it away. One more round. Wonderful. Breathing on in to come back to a neutral spine. Let's just come back to sit on our heels just for a moment and take some zombie arms. So a counter stretch to what we just did, getting a nice stretch in those forearms. Maybe just recognize whether or not you felt the desire to maybe rush the action, or maybe slow down the action, or maybe move on to the next thing while we were exploring cat-cow. Beautiful. Let's make our way back to all fours. All right, we're going to take some circular motions with our torso. So imagining that our torso is a jump rope. So no worries about what this one looks like. Just focus in on how it feels in your body. Feel free to reverse that circle at any time. Getting a little spinal work in there. The hips are going to be loving this one. All right, and then we eventually find some stillness. Let's sit back onto our heels. Feel free to stay here nice and lifted in a kneeling position, or you can join me by coming on down to the ground, finding a comfortable seat of your choice. So when you arrive there, let's make some fists. I invite you to recognize how much effort you put into making this fist. So for me, I would probably say about 80% effort because I can actually see my fingernail prints into my palm here. So we can relax as well, so you can just shake it on off. So one tendency that I have noticed that I have is that I can go from 0 to 100 just like that. So one of the things that I've been working on is learning how to be a dial. Can I dial the amount of tension or effort, scaling it back to 80%? What about 50%, 30%, and so forth? So perhaps this resonates with you, perhaps not, it's all good. Let's just explore this idea a little bit further. So let's make some fists once again, and let's go to 100%. So nice and strong. Now let's reduce the amount of effort to about 80%. What does that look like? What does that feel like? What about 50%? What about 10% effort? What about 0? And then you can shake it off. So maybe we can apply this idea of maybe moving through our life and maybe scaling it back or being a dial. Just something to consider, something to think about, not only on your mat, but also off the mat as well. All right, hands can rest on your lap. Let's just take some neck circles now. So drawing some circles with our nose, nice and slow, working out any kinks or stiffness in the neck. And then reverse that circle. A kind reminder just to keep the breath flowing. Wonderful. Our head comes back over our heart space. Drop your right ear towards your right shoulder and allow your left fingertips to reach and kiss the earth. If you are looking for a deeper stretch, feel free to walk your left fingertips away from your body. Wonderful. Shake it off. Left ear drops to the left shoulder and we send our right fingertips so that way now it is touching the earth. Again, permission to walk those fingertips a little further away from your body to get a deeper stretch. Wonderful. Bring the head back over our heart space. On our next breath in, let's send our shoulders up towards our ears, and then on the exhale, we drop the shoulders down. 2 more times just like that. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Wonderful. So for this next little bit of our practice here together, I invite you to recognize whatever else your body is looking for, whatever else your body is needing or craving in this present moment. So it's going to be a little bit of freestyle. So there's that option. You can just kind of freely move on your mat, or you can watch me and follow along. Totally up to you. All right, well, I'm going to be drawing some circles with my torso because that feels nice and yummy. Stir in the pot. Maybe a little spinal twist in there. Maybe interlacing my fingers behind my back body to really open on up through my heart space. Wonderful. And once you are done playing, find stillness. Let's all take a deep breath in through our nose together. And then just sigh it out through the mouth. At the end of our yoga practices together, I invite you to connect or reflect upon what we learned today. And we can do that by answering some journal questions or writing prompts. So the ones that I have for you today are, number one piece of information that I learned about myself today was, so then you would just fill in that blank. Number 2, key takeaways from my yoga practice include, and number 3, I recognize. So this one I left open-ended. It could be something that you recognize maybe about yourself while exploring on the mat. For example, for me, I recognize that most of my weight goes into the ball points of my feet. I recognize that I have a tendency to go from 0 to 100 really quickly. So these are just key takeaways, reflections, and all that good stuff. It is 100% optional, so no worries if you don't feel like doing it or you just want to take your time to just think about it or process the information. All right, well, day 2, done. Woo, we did it. I cannot wait to see you for tomorrow. Day number 3 will be another great one. Take good care, everyone, and namaste.